Donald Trump says the clock is ticking on the war in Iran. The U.S. president threatening there won't be anything left of Iran if no peace deal is reached. The tentative truce between Iran and the U.S. came under further strain this weekend with drone attacks on U.S. allies in the Gulf. Well, we're going to talk about all of this now with France 24's Philip Turle, who joins me on the set. Philip, Donald Trump again saying Iran is dying to sign a deal. The Iranians, meanwhile, are blaming the U.S. for stalling the talks. So what more do we know about how these discussions are advancing?
Well, this has happened pretty quickly after a discussion with Benjamin Netanyahu, who is the Israeli prime minister. And it's long been assumed that there are two different ways that this war is being looked at by the two different sides. Israel wants the total obliteration of Iran and also Hezbollah, which it's made no bones about wanting to obtain. Also Hamas in the Gaza Strip. Hezbollah and Hamas are both proxies of Iran, whereas the United States is more keen on trying to force the Iranians to reopen the Strait of Hormuz and to reach a nuclear deal with the Iranians. So the fact that Donald Trump says this after talks with Benjamin Netanyahu leads one to wonder what the two men were talking about and exactly what kind of threat, if there was, from Benjamin Netanyahu towards Donald Trump to get this over and done with as quickly as possible. So this is really an echo of what Donald Trump said about a few weeks into the war, saying that if Iran didn't come to the negotiating table, then it would face the obliteration of its civilization. The reply from the Iranians, as far as they're concerned in all of this, they say the US has failed to make any concrete concessions in its response to Tehran's latest proposals, and a lack of compromise from Washington would lead to what they say would be an impasse in the negotiations. So as things stand right now, it looks like we're in this impasse. There seems to be no way forward in the dialogue going on between each side. I'll just give you a quick reminder of what the main points on the negotiating table are between the Iranians and the Americans. The Iranians say they want a halt to the US naval blockade of the Iranian ports, guarantees of no further attacks on Iran, a demand for compensation for war damage, and an emphasis on Iranian sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz. Whereas what the US is calling for is an opening of the Strait of Hormuz and no Iranian attempt to block it, particularly over the cables that are there, which are to provide internet and banking services around the world, which Iran has threatened to cut, that Iran keeps only one nuclear site in operation and transfers its stockpile of highly enriched uranium to the United States. All of these are I think, red lines for the Iranians, but Trump has said that he is willing to accept a 20-year suspension of Iran's nuclear program, whereas before he was saying it had to be a total suspension and no date put on that. So for the moment, that's where we are. This is worrying, I think, not only for the state of play in the war in Iran, but also worrying for the stock markets and also for the price of oil.
Indeed, and for Trump domestically as well, with the midterms coming up. Now, all of this is coming as there is a closed-door meeting that's taking place here in Paris of G7 finance leaders to discuss the global economy and the threat that's posed by the war in Iran.
Well, there is a G7 meeting due to take place in Evian-les-Bains in France next month. This is like a pre-meeting of finance ministers to try to help individuals and companies struggling in the future as a result of the war, not only in Iran, but also in Ukraine. There is talk right now of a global recession. Mortgage rates are on the up in Europe right now, I think, in anticipation of a rise in inflation levels. So what they're going to be talking about over the next couple of days in Evian is global economic imbalances, trade tensions and fallout from the war in Iran. And now on top of this, of course, there are other problems for Donald Trump himself back home. Gas prices are rising in the United States. The economy is on the downturn. He's seeing himself going down in the opinion polls. I'll give you two. One of them for YouGov, which said that he has fallen from 40% to 27% of approval ratings amongst independents in the United States. That's a record low in recent months. And 64% of Americans now say going to a war with Iran was a wrong decision. That's according to a poll published by the New York Times. So we are seeing, I think, a lot of worry on the international markets about where things are going with all of this, just where Donald Trump sees all this coming to an end. He has said that he's not even thinking about America's finances right now, not even a little bit in talks. What he wants is to make sure that Iran does not obtain nuclear weapons. We'll have to see all this plays out over the next couple of days, but certainly a lot of agitation, I think, and worry on the international scene about where all this is going to lead.